Up next, you are going to add color to your watercolor pencil versus water-soluble pastel bootcamp. Your watercolor pencils should have a brush on them, so make sure that as you use the pencils that they are actually watercolor pencils. Your water-soluble pastels look a lot like an oil pastel, but they will react with water just like the pencils will. Now in your first section, you're going to do one color scumbling. Scumbling is just coloring in circular motions. So you're going to fill most, you don't have to fill all of that space with one color, and you should still be able to see white in those spaces. Moving on, you are going to be working with one color gradient. Now color choice does not matter at all today, but what matters is your technique. For one color gradient, you're going to start dark and you're going to gradually fade out to very light, potentially even white. Now as I shade here or color, I'm just layering and making sure that my dark looks about as dark as I can make it, but I don't want it to look like a dark stripe. So I'm going to continue to add kind of a medium value, then beside my dark, and again have that gradually fade out to light. For your next technique, you are going to be using two colors and you're going to be layering. Now you need to use two colors that are going to blend well, or mix to make a new color. I'm choosing to use two primary colors, but you could use a primary and a secondary color as long as they are next to each other on the color wheel. So my example here, I'm using blue and red, hoping to make some violet, but I could use blue with green to make blue-green, or I could use blue with violet to make blue-violet as well. Now as I'm layering, I'm making sure that there towards the center, I'm working with the different pressure, light versus dark, but I'm also layering those colors on top of each other so that as I then add water on top of this later, I will then make that new color. I'm putting some of my red on top of some of my blue. I'm going back and I'm putting some of my blue on top of the red, just layering those colors together in different areas with different pressures to again see what happens when I add water. Next up is using three different colors and working with blending. So here again we have to use colors that are going to blend well together or make new colors, which just means that they are next to each other on the color wheel. I've got some red here that I've already applied, and next I'm working with orange. I am still varying pressure, using some areas to be darker, some areas to be lighter. Then as I continue, I'm going to overlap those colors, blend those colors, so that we get more of a gradual value scale, or gradient from dark to light. Now you don't necessarily have to think about them in dark to light order. You should still be thinking about them in color wheel order. Now after your watercolor pencil column is complete, you're going to be doing the same techniques with the water-soluble pastels in that second column. Now I chose to use the same colors so that I could see and compare how the two different media or materials compare and contrast to each other, but you can use different colors if you would like. The main goal of this is to experience how these different media or materials react, especially when you add water, because that will make a big change, so that you can then decide on your project if you would prefer to work with the watercolor pencils or the water pastels. So when all of your coloring is complete, you would be ready for the next video, which shows you how to add water.